Oh, right when I turned the mics on.
Thank God I had this over my mouth.
We are on mute for 12 minutes. Unmute it. Kablam.
Season 2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The best time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Hurrdat Media Network.
All right.
Beth and I are terrible people. I want your opinion on this. If you think we are terrible people or not, real fast. Something that we did this week, and I've mentioned that in our neighborhood, we live in a neighborhood of grandpas and grandparents. Like they're just always wanting to help and do all this kind of stuff. And we've had our driveways and snow blowed before we got up or whatever. Last year, Gene, our neighbor, helped us with our leaves in the backyard with his mulcher, a Nader 2000, whatever. It was awesome. Took like 20 minutes. So this year, we're like, well, that was a pretty sweet deal, helping with the leaves.
So where is everybody?
Our leaves are all over, just a disaster in the backyard. So we've been waiting until the right time. We on Friday night, we're like, okay, so Saturday and Sunday, one of the days we have to do the leaves. Do we have to do it so we can get Gene to help us? We don't want to ask him. Do we? Because last year he just saw us out there working. He's like, oh, come over and help you, whatever. So we thought, okay, is it better to do it when they're out there? Because he wasn't out there last year. Or when they're not out there and they would see us outside again and come help us. Okay?
Well, definitely. See, the first time you got lucky. Let's just put it that way. You got lucky because he was out there doing his thing and it wasn't on your radar.
Yes, we weren't even thinking about it.
And so now you're
overthinking it,
manipulating.
Yes, 100%, 100%. So we decided not to do it when they were out there doing their leaves because we thought, well, they're working on theirs. They're not going to come over and help us.
Right.
So we waited till the day they weren't. So we went out Sunday. Yeah. And I mean, I was breathing loud. You could obviously tell I was working hard. Beth was working hard. We could have used the help. And he was even out washing his windows and didn't.
He didn't bring it over.
No, didn't bring it
over.
You
think it's because you didn't reciprocate during the last 12 months?
We made him Kahlua, a whole bottle of Kahlua.
Maybe there's a problem with that. Maybe Gene has a problem.
Maybe
that wasn't what he wanted.
That was the worst possible.
Wasn't what he needed.
We gave him a whole bunch of edibles. I don't know what the problem is. But I am sore than a mofo this morning. I can't sit in the same spot for like 5 minutes.
I thought I was sick yesterday because my stomach hurts so bad. We went to eat and I couldn't eat. I was like sitting and like I couldn't get comfortable. And I'm like, God, my stomach, I don't know why it hurts so bad. The day before, Saturday, I went to Mom and Dad's because Dad needed some help. And he is digging out a post.
Oh, you did lab work.
So I had a post hole digger, and I dug for like 45 minutes, digging out this post that was buried 4 feet. It still is. It's still in there.
It's still buried 4 feet.
Well, it's 3.5. It's down to about 3.5 feet or dug out. He had started. I said, "You do not need to be doing this. This is insane." So, and unfortunately, because it's been so nice, the ground's really soft. Basically,
yeah, it's still dirt and earth.
That's what it was. My abs.
So you did
I thought I was sick because my stomach still hurts so bad.
Couple things on that is that, first of all, it's been long enough to when you've exercised that you forgot what that feels like, and you thought it was like the Rona or something. You had no clue.
I was like, I just can't eat because my stomach. I mean, it's just sitting here right now. It hurts. It hurts, and so I stand up and it hurts, and I sit down but it's like that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I either need to do that more
or never again.
Or never again.
It was nice. It's nice doing that. So like you feel great after, felt awesome after.
Yeah.
I even feel good today, just so sore.
And it was beautiful out Saturday in particular. Sunday wasn't so bad until it got windy, but Saturday it was beautiful outside, a little crisp.
I'm glad you're not sick. I'm glad it was just because you did the equivalent of a sit-up.
It was more than one.
Oh, I know. Well, no, I remember when I helped Beth's dad dig a post hole in Colorado this past summer. It's every muscle of your body is sore.
Everything is. This post hole diggers. And trying to dig out a post, and this thing is it's like a 6x6. It's in one of the shops, and it's like the door would shut to this post. He wants to take it out because there had been some erosion, put some new, blah, 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 whatever. But I'm like, how deep is this thing buried? He said, well, 4 feet. We're digging. I'm like, are you sure? Because then I'd kick it, and it wouldn't even budge. And I'm like, we're down 3.5 feet. It should move a
He
little.
probably planted it in like the 40s. So
Well,
it's like,
I was like, when did you do this? First off, and actually, he didn't do it when he put it up because Morton Buildings. It's a Morton building, right?
Oh.
So that's who put it in. I said, "Are you sure it's not in concrete at
I'm
the bottom?"
sure it's something.
Because there's no concrete the first 3 feet,
Well,
but I don't know.
Can't you just like dig it down a foot and then just cover it up with dirt? Like, do you need to take it out of there?
Because it needs to be replaced.
Oh.
There's other issues, so it does need to be replaced.
Okay.
So that has to come out. I said, well, can't you? Don't they do that? Don't people have?
There's a service. They have what big trees that they cut down and you don't even see them anymore.
Or
So
people can dig it out and pull it. I'm like,
you could pay somebody to do anything.
I know.
100%.
So I need to find somebody that wants to dig out the rest of this post because I don't want to go back and finish this.
Well, it sounds like super fun from what you've described it. So I don't know how.
But if that's your thing, it would be.
They probably have like equipment that'll make it like 20-minute job.
That's why I said, can we get, because it has like a sleeve that the post is inside. And so he wants to reuse the sleeve. I said, can we buy a new one?
Buy a new sleeve.
Let's get, because he's afraid if we just pull it out with the tractor that he'll damage it. And
Get it out of there.
I'm like, let's do it.
Let's damage it. Damage the crap out of it.
So we did not finish the job, but I was, after 45 minutes, I was like, I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
Jack was tired. He was
just tired watching you.
Oh, God.
Like,
yeah.
in his mind, in his little dog thoughts, he's like, she's going to be bitching for 2 days because of what she's doing
And
right
he's probably
now.
like, she doesn't even know how to dig.
Right. Yeah, right. You want me guys to show you?
Want me to help?
I mean, she didn't even know how to dig. That's the title of the podcast today, by the way.
But my God. Otherwise, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial going on.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody's following it because sadly you're not going to see a lot of it in the news. It's just unbelievable that they're finally getting testimony, and you're hearing from some of these victims. You're hearing from the driver. You're hearing from the guy who takes care of one of the houses. You're hearing what they saw, what they were asked to do. Basically told, you don't speak about it, you don't talk about it, you didn't hear anything, you didn't see anything. And they're signed, legally they owed their firstborn if they broke the contract. So they were all scared to a degree to say anything out loud. But now that he's gone and she's on trial, the only thing they've got to be careful of is the people who could get exposed. Mm-hmm. And they've released some of the names that were on the flight logs. No surprises that were on there at all, because this is some of the rumors that people have been hearing about up to this point.
And on the flight log, because I haven't heard this question answered before. So this plane that he had, was it could have been on a business flight from LA to New York, and it had nothing to do with anything, but you were on that flight. So just because your name's on that list doesn't mean if your name is on the list on a flight log where you went to the island, that's different. If you're on the flight from New York to Miami or something because you had a business meeting, that doesn't mean that you were involved in anything.
Right.
Okay.
And you'll see some of those.
Okay.
And they have that evidence to talk about, how many times and where they went to, who else was on the plane, and down to the names of the girls that were on the plane. So that also is kind of an indication. If you'll realize that there are some people that were on the plane, they used the plane, but they were the only one on there, or that it was them and maybe a couple other security or something like that. You'll see the flight log of who was on the flight. And so that kind of gives you a pretty good indication of the intention.
Yeah, right.
When you see these girls' names show up on the flight that these people are on, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Did any of them happen to notice the 14-year-old? Yeah. Just curious. Did anybody see the 14? Did you see her? Because she was on the plane. There was only 8 of you. So I'm just curious, Yeah. And there are some names that you just don't expect to see attached to him at all. It's like you didn't even think about them being in the same circles. But then it got into like the housekeeper. Just real quick, I had to grab this one because it just blows my mind. The housekeeper I think this is the one in Palm Beach, but he had a list. He had a manual actually of how to dress, how to greet people. You never dress people with your hands in your pockets. Was like when it got very specific about perception and about taking care of the guests and always addressing them properly. And the only acceptable responses are, and then it would have the different types of responses and using Mr., Ms., something like that. And then it right down to taking care of the rooms, right? So you had the guest rooms, you had Mr. Epstein's room, and then you have Ms. Maxwell's room. So I grabbed this one checkoff list, which is the bathroom toiletries for Ms. Maxwell, and it's very specific. And it has brand names: Lemur Facial Moisturizer, Baber, I'm not sure, Foam Mask, Kiehl's Cucumber Toner, Kiehl's Washable Cleansing Milk. I mean, it's just like these kind of things. This all has to be stocked. So, and it goes further in here. If anything is like halfway or less, you have to get rid of it and fill it with new.
Okay, that's so weird.
Regardless. And it goes so specific as round cotton pads, Q-tips, toothbrush, Oral-B, hard. You're not supposed to use a hard toothbrush.
No, it's supposed to use soft, medium at worst.
Right? Isn't that true? They had the same one in the guest bathrooms too. Oral-B hard. Electric toothbrush, Braun Ultra Plaque Remover. Dental floss, Johnson & Johnson Reach Mint, which I like that.
I'm on board with that one.
Scope mouthwash, sunscreen, very specific, Lancome, SPF 30. Kiehl's lip balm with SPF. And so, every one of these, and this is from 10, 15 years ago, the manual that was
so
written
weird.
up. And it's like that for every room in the house, for the pool, for the cabana, for, everything, and how things were just so regimented.
Control.
Yeah.
All
and
about control.
More and more coming out, too, that you're seeing about she was the boss. And we've talked about this before, that it looked like on the outside that he was the one, the mastermind. He's got all the money and doing all this stuff. It's showing more and more she was in charge, more and more. And that when her dad died, there was just like, I don't know, we still have to kind of flesh that out. But when you go back, I think it was in 91, and it was about the same time that she met him. Was about the same time that he got killed. I don't know. It's very suspicious how he died, but it's just kind of interesting how that all came together and how he got plucked from obscurity.
Right. That's what's the weirdest part. Yeah.
To all of a sudden be this front man, and talking about the camera setups that are in these houses. That's another thing too. And I think at the time when the stuff first started coming out and you were hearing about all the cameras everywhere, everybody was just like, oh, come on, this is so stupid. There's no way that they had so-and-so do XYZ. And I'll give you one. There's a movie out right now called True Story with Kevin Hart.
Okay,
it's on Netflix.
Right, I've heard of it.
Watch that. It's very weird how it's called True Story, and it's about, I don't even know who it's based on, but anyway, it's somebody very similar to Kevin Hart, who basically is playing himself with a different name, and how he is controlled, and how they get him in a situation where they have control. That's time and again you hear from the crazies out there talking about when they were young actors or actresses and they got in a compromising position and now they have the goods on them. And so whenever XY says jump, they'd say how high, right? And that's basically the scheme that they had going. It's insane. But so anyway, so if you don't...
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. The media's not really covering it that much.
They're not. I think they're scared to death. And the Prince Andrew, his name is going to be all over this, and there will be some others. But like they said the other day, it's just, if they're willing to give him up, then holy crap, they're willing to throw him under the bus. Then who else is in this?
Yeah. I mean, that's very true. I know. It's
He's the sacrifice? Okay. So anyway, and thanks to the people too that have been sending me some messages with other accounts that are good to follow that are reporting on this stuff. There are a couple people on Substack as well that are writing great articles about it and trying to get all the information in one place and write it, because they don't allow cameras. Very few. I don't even know that any media.
I saw a guy on TikTok that I followed, and he's an attorney. And he, at the end of every day, he just recaps everything from the legal standpoint of what they talked about, what they discussed. And it's like it's like very dry delivery, no inflection, no bias either way. This is what was discussed. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Oh, and it's very interesting, and it's like 3 minutes long each. It's the max video you can have on TikTok, and he fills up 3 minutes, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, you're going to have to do more work than normal, because they're not going to feed this. They're not going to feed this to us. It's like, if you want to know this stuff, you need to kind of do some digging and find the people that are in there and that can tell you what's really being
or just listen
about.
to our podcast.
I try, but I'm not.
Follow that other JT on Twitter, because I wish we could talk about your other one, your fake one,
my little my little troll,
because that's the one that's lit.
It's fun. Awesome. But anyway.
Hard segue.
So I know, right? Right into the Christmas season.
Right.
Isn't it too ironic that of all things, this is when this trial comes up, as this trial finally gets on the docket? It's been 2.5 years
And it's right in the during the holidays.
I mean, seriously, it's like, oh, now we're going to start this at Christmas? Really?
Yeah.
Because that's not what people are really clamoring for. But I know everybody's clamoring for Die Hard, the movie, and A Very Die Hard Christmas. And so we had the opportunity, and we grabbed it to talk with Bill Grennan, who is with the Blue Barn Theater. And they are bringing it to us, a nice little Christmas special. So good morning, Bill. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us. We really appreciate you jumping in on such short notice.
Yeah, it's my pleasure being here. Thanks for reaching out and talking all things Die Hard.
Right? That's really where we're going. First off, Blue Barn Theater, I'm just going to throw this out there. I just happened to notice this. You guys are in your 33rd season, aren't you?
Yeah, the Blue Barn is in its 33rd season from its humble beginnings, just in like some storefronts in downtown Omaha, to when it started performing and really got its legs underneath it when it was performing down in the old market, kind of around that 11th and Jackson area. And then, of course, for the past, I think about 6-7 years, they've now been in their own space right on 10th and Pacific, right in that kind of corridor of Little Italy. It's really an amazing place and just a wonderful beacon of the arts in Omaha.
True. How long have you been part of it?
Boy, looking back, I think I've started doing shows around the Blue Barn, starting with like their late night theater troupe that they used to have. Probably that would have been around 2006, 2007. And I've been lucky enough to do shows with them ever since, including, I think now, A Very Die Hard Christmas is my ninth. It's my ninth holiday show at the Blue Barn.
That's fantastic. And it is playing right now through the 19th of December. And obviously controversial, no doubt. I mean, you talk about touching on something that's a sensitive subject.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, it really can, when you're at the holidays, the two things that are really going to break families up are talking politics, religion, and whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Right.
Like, that's always going to be what happens, right?
Biggest fight starters.
100%.
Yes.
So I'm going to assume you fall on the side that it is a Christmas movie.
Oh, absolutely. I think, it's just science. I mean, it just shows in every way, state, or form. You would be hard pressed to actually convince me that it's not a Christmas movie. There's so many reasons why it is. Like, I don't understand why people don't like, if it's just the fact that it's an action movie and it has like some violence to it, like that kind of thing, that's not reason enough to tell me it's not a Christmas movie.
So like when it was originally released, was it released around the holidays, I'm assuming?
Boy, and when it came out in 1988, and that's actually a point of comedy throughout our show, A Very Die Hard Christmas. There's moments where like John McClane is walking through the airport with the gigantic bear, and then you hear the mayor of LA, who's actually Dave Wingert's voice, go up there and say, like, smoking is only allowed in designated smoking areas, which is basically everywhere in this airport because it's 1988. And so you think about it, I think it was probably released, like, that's when the big action movies come out, right? It's always around the holidays when people want to go see things. And that's the point. I mean, well, I guess the bigger question is, I mean, Pat, JT, from your perspective, do you have a dog in this fight? Do you think that it's a Christmas movie or not?
I think it is a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've always fallen on that side.
To me, it was a no-brainer also.
Right? I mean,
mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, Christmas is like a key element of the show. John McClane is not in LA for any other reason than to go to a Christmas party.
Exactly.
Like, without Christmas, that movie doesn't happen. Like, it's not just being like, oh, he's going to come out like in August. Like, he's not celebrating Labor Day.
Right.
Like, that's not what this is.
Exactly. And most Christmas movies, that's the reason it's a Christmas movie.
It's because it's around Christmas.
It's around Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That right there checks a big box.
Yeah, there's groups that have done like scientific analysis of like what makes a Christmas movie. And it's like the number of Christmas trees, the decorations, the use of Christmas music and all that kind of stuff. If you take all of the like Christmas songs that you see, the Christmas references, all of the trees that you see, all of those shots, add them all up, there are more Christmas things in Die Hard than Miracle on 34th Street.
Really? Because I'm trying to think. Does Die Hard have a Santa Claus? Yeah, there's a Santa Claus in there.
Oh, it's got Santa Claus. Yeah. It's got numerous Christmas trees. Everyone is humming Christmas tunes. There's always like every single time Hans Gruber like needs to explain something, he just looks at Theo and just goes, "It's Christmas, Theo."
Has Bruce Willis ever waited on this?
He has, and he is actually in the camp that it's not a Christmas movie.
Mm-mm.
He's just keeping the conversation going.
Maybe
I think that's what he's doing.
Posture. I think there's even documentation here that if you went with the release date as a qualifier, that would eliminate Miracle on 34th Street and Christmas in Connecticut.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
They couldn't be Christmas movies then.
Also, at the same time, like there's like Google and like Netflix, YouTube, all those places, they come out. The amount of people that watch Die Hard like spikes like 4 times over during the holiday season. Like everyone's watching Die Hard around Christmas time. That should say something about whether or not it is actually a Christmas movie.
That's true. And some other things too. Just a little tidbit that I just came across. We accept Christmas movie comedies like Home Alone, musicals, White Christmas, and then the romantic like Bishop's Wife in 1947. Also historical, some not historical, costume dramas, I guess you would call them, The Lion in Winter, and some Westerns, Three Godfathers, and action thrillers would be Die Hard. So I think it's very obviously a Christmas movie.
And like, what's the main points of Christmas movies, regardless of violence and F-bombs and all that other stuff, which we have in a very Die Hard Christmas
at most families' Christmas parties, we have violence, we have cussing. Right? So it's like true to form.
But you have like the 3 main elements of a good Christmas movie is the showcase of like goodwill, generosity, and selflessness. That's all John McClane does throughout all of Die Hard. He's bringing his kids a big bear for Christmas, right? He's showing generosity by helping out Al and everybody else. He's basically selfless the entire time, trying to save people on top of a building while he jumps off it while he explodes. Which, by the way, if you have not had a chance to come see A Very Die Hard Christmas at the Blue Barn, I'm not going to spoil it for folks, but when the explosion at the top of Nakatomi Plaza happens, it is the biggest laugh in the show, and it is one of my favorite moments in the entire show. I won't say exactly what happens, but it is something that's well worth the price of admission.
Excellent. All right. Now, I always know you guys sell out no matter what you do. And so obviously we wanted to get the word out. We wanted to talk to you because this is a great topic and it's just kind of fun for everybody. And like you said, everybody will probably be watching it, so you may as well watch it live with real people on stage. Does it vary very much from the movie, aside from the, tall buildings and stuff like that?
Besides being on a stage in Omaha, Nebraska.
It's, especially in a 100-seat theater in a lot of different ways. I mean, does it vary? I mean, it depends on your definition of vary. There's moments in the show. So instead of like real bullets, we use squirt guns. We have pool noodles. We have pillows. All of these things are also referenced in the show itself. Like in the very beginning of the movie, like Carl and Heinrich and everybody else, like they squirt gun down a security officer at Nakatomi, and he just turns directly to the audience and just goes, "I've been shot by water. It's fatal in this world, so we hope that you suspend your disbelief for the rest of the show. Thank you." And just go back on, right?
Literally setting the stage.
Yeah, right?
Literally.
Precisely. Is that where that came from?
Set the stage.
That makes sense.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
I would assume that goes way back to the old times of like Shakespeare putting a stage set up like up there, that kind of thing.
Set the stage.
Yeah, setting up.
Which Shakespeare, very high, Die Hard Christmas. I mean, it's high art. Is what we're doing.
It's a natural connection.
Yeah, very high.
Natural conclusion. It's awesome. So, anyways, I was going to say we wanted to get you in here and be able to talk to you, just because we want people to be able to go, and I know there's limited seating still available.
Yep, absolutely. This is actually a show where we almost sold out before we even opened, because this was a show that was performed 2 years ago, and now it's a remount with a couple of new cast members, myself included, in that realm. So this is one where they've added shows. So we now have double shows on Sundays. We have extra performances here and there, and so even if a lot of the performances are sold out, there's always a possibility you might get in to go see the show.
Right.
So we have 7:30 p.m. shows for like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We do the 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock on Sunday. If you show up at the Blue Barn right when the house opens, about an hour before we do the show, you can get on a wait list. And chances are, if you're one of the first people on that wait list, you'll have a good chance to get in and see the show.
That's good to hear. So it sounds like this could become a tradition, and I'm not going to name names, but this could be your nutcracker.
It might be.
This
could be your nutcracker.
And that's the one thing you kind of can always expect from the Blue Barn. They put in, they do some of the best shows in the best theater, some of the more, newer cutting edge. They do classics as well. They really do some of the best theater that you can find, not just in Omaha, but in the Midwest. But it's always a tradition that they are going to do some type of holiday show that can be irreverent, that can be funny, that can be quaint. It's something different than the usual that we always see.
I love it. Bill Grennan,
awesome.
Thank you so much for dropping in with us and telling us about the show. And go to bluebarn.org is the website if you want to find more details, and
good luck.
Plan on getting in line, right?
Good luck on convincing people this is a Christmas movie.
I think
we're behind you.
We are.
Hey, We'll do it. We'll keep up the good fight, and yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay.
And with that, we wrap another episode. That's fantastic. Bill, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill. It's Pat and JT, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. In the show description, links for everything we talked about. The Blue Barn. Yippee-ki-yay.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.